Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlene Benedict for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Peruni Karunaratna. Before we head on to your stories in detail, here's a look at your top stories for tonight.
Actress Damita and husband arrested. Sirasa temporarily barred from chairmanship of Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Activists demand election commission call for delayed elections to be held. Vajira says the presidential poll will be in October and Ranil will contest independently with the support of multiple factions. SLPP's Shehan Semasinghe attends the UNP activist meeting in Anuradhapura. More exploitation surrounding Kiri Samba.
Starting off with a look at your top story tonight, Damita Aberatna, a well-known activist and actress, along with her husband, were arrested by the Criminal Investigations Department.
According to police spokesperson DIG Nihal Thaldua, the couple faces charges related to a substantial fraud amounting to nearly 3 million rupees. Allegedly, they falsely promised employment opportunities in South Korea.
Following a complaint lodged with the police headquarters by a resident of the Nugegoda area, an investigation was initiated against actress Damita Aberatna. Damita Aberatna and her husband voluntarily appeared at the Fort Magistrates Court this afternoon, intending to surrender in connection with the incident. However, the police spokesperson said that the court declined to accept their surrender. Subsequently, as they were leaving the court premises, the Criminal Investigation Department took them into custody.
Mother Lanka, I like that name. It is a respectable name. I fulfilled my duties to Mother Lanka by joining the Aragalaya. We were also defrauded and are due large sums of money. When we asked for that money, this is what hopeless members of the Port Tour did. They insulted me by levelling false allegations. Even the family of the person who lodged a complaint at the Criminal Investigations Department had received legal advice to do so.
The Colombo District Court issued an injunction prohibiting Maithripala Sirisena from serving in the capacity of chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party.
This legal order, effective until the 18th of April, was granted in response to a request made by former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga.
Former Sri Lankan President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga has formally petitioned the Colombo District Court seeking a permanent injunction to remove Maithripala Sirisena from his position as chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. The basis for this request is the assertion that he is unsuitable for the role. On behalf of former President Bandaranaike, President's Counsel Chandaka Jayasuriya, along with attorneys Amila Disanaike and Purnima Ratnaike, instructed by attorney-at-law KMSR Pereira, made submissions to Colombo District Court Judge Sandun Vidhana. The attorneys emphasized that Maithripala Sirisena's continued occupancy of the post of chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party constitutes a breach of the party's constitution. They pointed out that as per the party's constitution, Maithripala Sirisena is eligible to serve as chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party during his tenure as the country's president. However, post-presidency, he is designated as the party's patron by official decree. They argue that Maithripala Sirisena simultaneously holding the positions of party patron and chairman is inconsistent with the party's constitutional framework. Furthermore, they highlighted before the district court that the Supreme Court had determined the infringement of fundamental rights during a trial concerning the Easter attack, and the court also deemed the decisions made by Maithripala Sirisena during the 52-day government upheaval as erroneous, rendering him ineligible for the party chairmanship. Given this context, former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga petitioned the district court for a permanent injunction restraining Maithripala Sirisena from serving as the chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. She also requested an interim injunction to suspend his authority until the matter could be fully adjudicated. In her plea to the district court, she underscored the necessity for an injunction to remain in force until the interim order was deliberated upon. After due consideration of the pleas, Colombo District Judge Sandun Vithan issued an injunction prohibiting Maithripala Sirisena from functioning as party chairman until the 18th of April. Simultaneously, the district court issued injunctions against acting secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Sarathi Dushmantha Mitrapala, senior vice president Nimal Siripala De Silva, and vice president Faiza Mustafa, preventing the implementation of any decisions made by Maithripala Sirisena.
Sri Lanka Freedom Party National Organiser Duminda Dissanayaka, Treasurer Lasantha Alagiyawanna, Senior Vice President Mahinda Amarabira and Deputy Secretary Jagat Pushpakumara arrived at the party headquarters following the court order.
When Maithripala Sirisena took over the party as chairman, we had 140 MPs, and it is restricted to 2 MPs today. A large number of good organisers were also removed, possibly over 500. He also gave posts to various individuals who have no claim to the party, including ruffians, and then got them to join the party. The implosion is a result of that. Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga sought legal intervention to prevent the destruction of this party because she could not stand by and watch this tragedy. We had many opportunities to form an alliance for this party that we missed because of the party chairman. Parliamentarians who were willing to join our alliance did not like the party leadership. We did not have an issue with him being in the leadership, but as a result, we lost the opportunity to form an alliance.
Sri Lanka Nidahas Paksheta.
The SLFP needs to embark on a new journey. We are not prepared to criticize the SLFP chairman or highlight his shortcomings any longer. None of the individuals on this stage are seeking political revenge because we have no reason to do so. Maybe you shouted in the past, raised your hand to remove us, or praised Maithripala Sirisena and his actions. But we invite all of you to join the party. Regardless of what issues they have with us, we are prepared to protect the party supporters and organizations.
Former President Maithripala Sirisena this evening expressed his opinion in this regard.
We had the motto of forming an all-party government, despite the decisions taken by the Central Committee that we should not join the incumbent government unless an all-party government is formed. Some individuals had taken up ministerial portfolios under the current president. They took up these offers because they were greedy for power that came with those titles, not because they loved the country, its citizens or the party. We had successful discussions with many parties to form an alliance for the upcoming elections. However, the party symbols we intend to use are in possession of 2 who are with the government. We asked for the chair and beetle leaf symbols from those 2. However, they refused to give it to us. They had broken promises made to the Central Committee 3 times. They have clearly violated the party's disciplinary rules. Therefore, as a pure political party, the SLFP will continue its political journey and not engage in fraud or corruption in any way or form. We will take these steps to present facts to the country's citizens and the judiciary to show the real situation.
ජනාධිපති කරවන්න රංජිකා මැතිණිය බොහොම උදව් කරා.
ඒවා ඉතින් මේ දේශපාලනය කියන එක මේ කලින් කල වෙනස් වෙනවනේ. ඒවා කාලානුරූපව වෙනස් වෙලා තියෙනවා මේ රටේ. ඒවා අධිජීවී ප්‍රශ්න නෙවෙයි.
ඔබතුමාට ශ්‍රී ලංකා දේශ පක්ෂය ලබා ගන්නදී මහින්ද මහත්තයා වගේ ප්‍රබල කෙනෙක් එක්ක සටන් කරලා ලබා ගන්න හැකි වුණා. දැන් මේ චන්ද්‍රිකා මැතිණිය වගේ.
ඉතින් ඒක එයාගෙන් තමයි අහන්න ඕනේ.
You need to ask her why she is doing this to the party her own father founded. They clearly do not follow the policies of SWRD Bandaranayake and Siramavu Bandaranayake. They are planning on taking a different route.
ඒගොල්ල ගාව නැහැ. ඒගොල්ල වෙනත් පාරක යන්න හදන්නේ.
ඒ කියන්නේ මුළු ශ්‍රී ලංකා දේශ පක්ෂයම ආණ්ඩුවට ඇඳන්නද ඔය ඒගොල්ලෝ.
ඔව් ඒක තමයි පැහැදිලිම උත්සාහය ඒක. ආණ්ඩුවට ඇදීම. ඒකට තමයි අපි විරුද්ධ.
දැන් දිනෙන් දින ඔබතුමාට එක ප්‍රශ්න එනවා. දැන් අපෙන් නම් අපේ යාළුවෝ අහනවා මේ ওই කාලේට කේන්දරේ බලව ගත්තොත් හොඳයි නේද කියලා. ඔබතුමාගෙන් අහුවා.
මගේ කේන්දරේ මට කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. මං කේන්දර හැම වෙලෙම බලන කෙනෙක් නෙවෙයි. කියන අයට කියන්න ඕන මගේ කේන්දරේ ඒගොල්ලෝ බලලා ඒකේ හොඳ නරක කියන්නයි කියලා.
ඒ කියන්නේ ප්‍රබලයිද ඉස්සරහට කිසි වරදක් නැහැ.
බෝ ඉතා යහපත්. බොහොම බලවත්.
ජනාධිපතිවරණය ඔබ අපේක්ෂකෙක් වෙනවා.
නෑ ජනාධිපතිවරණය අපේක්ෂකයෙක් වෙනවද නැද්ද කියන කාරණේ නේ මෙතන තියෙන්නේ කුල.
නෑ අද ඉඳන් ඔබතුමාට ඩාලි පාරට යන්න බෑ.
නෑ ඇයි මොකද්ද බැරි? මට එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ.
ඔබතුමාට අන්තිම ඉතුරුනේ මේ ළඟ ඉන්න මහලේකම්තුමා විතරයි.
නෑ ඉතුරු වෙච්ච
No, there are more. You should have seen the crowd we had when the party supporters were summoned the other day.
හැසිරුනේ මේ ආණ්ඩුවේ අයට විරුද්ධව කියලා.
ඒකට ප්‍රබලයෝ නෑනේ.
ප්‍රබලයෝ හැදෙන්නේ දේශපාලනයෙන් තමයි. ඔය ප්‍රබලයෝ කියන්නේ කවුද? පොඩි තැනින් ආපු මිනිස්සු උඩට. එහෙමයි.
මොන දැක්කම පේන ඔබතුමා හරි ප්‍රශ්නක ඉන්නේ කියලා.
නෑ. ඔයාට එහෙනම් සාමාන්‍ය බොඩි ලැන්ග්වේජ් එක තේරෙන්නේ නෑ. ඔව් ඒක මේ මනෝවෛද්‍යවරයෙකුගෙන් අහන්න මගේ මූණ බොහොම ප්‍රසන්නයි.
ඒක ඔබ සතුටින් ඉන්නවා මෙවැනි අවස්ථාවක.
ඔව්.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party, or the SLFP, established on the 2nd of September 1951, owes its inception to the visionary leadership of SWRD Bandaranayake. Shortly after its formation, the SLFP witnessed a turning point. The Mahajana Eksath Peramuna, led by the party, emerged victorious in the 1956 general election, securing a mandate to govern. Tragically, the assassination of Mr. Bandaranayake altered the course of the SLFP leadership. In the subsequent elections held in July 1960, the alliance led by the Sri Lanka Freedom Party ascended to power under the capable guidance of Siramavu Bandaranayake. Notably, she became the world's first female prime minister, leaving an indelible mark on history. In 1970, a coalition led by the SLFP reclaimed government, ushering in a period when Sri Lanka functioned as a republic. Despite setbacks in 1977, the SLFP experienced a resurgence with the arrival of Chandrika Bandaranayake Kumaratunga in 1994. Her leadership from 1994 to 2005 revitalized the party, and in 2005, Mahinda Rajapaksa assumed the mantle of the SLFP leadership. His decade-long tenure witnessed significant milestones, and following the 2015 presidential election, leadership changed hands once more. Maithripala Sirisena took the helm and has been the party leader since 2015.
This was the reaction of a group including former Minister Pandu Bandaranayake at the Yakula town after the court order regarding the chairmanship of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party was issued.
Chandrika Bandaranayake Kumaratunga Methiniya.
We have proposed the name of Chandrika Bandaranayake Kumaratunga for the position of the leader of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Now there is an opportunity for that. Maithripala Sirisena forcibly removed us. Today the Sri Lanka Freedom Party has been completely defeated and everyone who held the main leadership position have left. And over 500 electoral organisers have also left their posts. Therefore we propose for Chandrika Bandaranayake Kumaratunga to take up the leadership of the party and to serve the people in the future.
යෝජනා කරනවා මේ අවස්ථාවේ.
These are the views expressed by Acting Secretary General of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party.
Privileges, vehicles, property and staff may be important to those ministers, but as party supporters, the SLFP is important to us. We need to remind you of that. Our seat organizers cannot engage in politics in their village because of this group. Party supporters in villages ask us if we are supporting the government or the opposition. The people should be aware of the injustice caused to the SLFP by this group. During Chandrika, Mahinda Rajapaksa, Maithripala Sirisena, Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Ranil Wickremesinghe's terms in office, this group held ministerial portfolios. People are aware of this. Where the SLFP stands will be clear in the near future.
Wins the election.
Today, a coalition of political party representatives and civil organizations staged a protest in front of the Election Commission, demanding the prompt rescheduling of the postponed elections.
They are lacking funds for elections. We are collecting money for the election.
Thereafter, 3 representatives were permitted to enter the Election Commission.
The Election Commission of 2015 did away with the Provincial Council election. The next commission did away with the local government election. I wonder what election they will get rid of next.
Wins the election.
The presidential election will be held in October. Ranil Wickremesinghe is contesting as a national leader. Chairman of the UNP expressed views on this, attending an event in Kaluthara today.
Political parties should stop fighting with each other. I would like to iterate that the national leader Ranil Wickremesinghe will achieve a historic victory in the upcoming presidential election in October. There's nothing to worry about here. UNP has already said since a while now that we won't contest in the election. UNP will not contest. Most of the political parties that I am aware of are not contesting. Those parties are independently committing to the victory of Ranil Wickremesinghe. That is a new election campaign.
Wins the election.
State Minister of Finance SLPP parliamentarian Shahant Semasinghe met with UNP regional representatives in Anuradhapura today. The UNP had organised a youth conference to be held on the 6th of April under the leadership of President Ranil Wickremesinghe on the theme Magen Patangamu, loosely translated to Let's Start with Me.
Youth keep joining this broad alliance. We are starting this from Anuradhapura. You can witness how many people will be joining hands with Ranil Wickremesinghe on the 6th of April. The ones who will support will stay, while the ones who won't support will have to leave politics.
Wins the election.
The Samagi Jana Balawegya is preparing to form an alliance with several other parties. As a preliminary step, an agreement will be made tomorrow morning with a group of members of the Freedom People's Congress, including Professor G.L. Pires. Samagi Jana Balawegya and Samagi Jana Sandhana, along with the team led by Professor G.L. Pires, will reach an understanding to sign an agreement tomorrow morning. It is not only targeted at the upcoming elections, but also as a result of an agreement we have been discussing for several months, especially on policy issues. This is not merely for contesting an election, but also critical of how a new government will take forward the country's activities. So, we will reach an agreement considering these aspects. 6 MPs from the Freedom People's Congress are scheduled to join the new alliance tomorrow. They are Professor G.L. Pires, Dr. Nalaka Godaheva, Dilan Pereira, KPS Kumarasiri, Wasantayapa Bandara and Dr. Upul Galapatti.
The alliance had the potential to topple the government if we could bring together Samagi Jana Balawegaya and Jatika Jana Balawegaya as we attempted. But we succeeded in discussions with Samagi Jana Balawegaya to bring together people who are able to do so. So we are taking the preliminary steps of the alliance led by Samagi Jana Balawegaya tomorrow from 9:45 AM at the BMICH.
බණ්ඩාරනායක සම්මන්ත්‍රණ ශාලාවේදී
සමගි ජන බලවේගයත් සමග ඔබතුමාලගේ පක්ෂ සමාජය එකතු වෙනවා. නායකතුමා එකතු වෙනවද ඩලස්සලා කරමු.
ඔව් අපි ඩලස්සර මැතිතුමා අපි හිතනවා අපි කසගහන් ඉස්සරහට යනකොට එතුමා අපි අපේ මේ සන්දානයට පසුව එකතු වෙයි කියලා බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. හෙට දිනේදී එතුමා එකතු වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
We can't say it's divided because 6 of us are taking the initiative to form this alliance tomorrow. 3 of us have joined the group built by Roshan Ranasinghe and we believe that they will join in the near future.
This was the response from the leader of the Freedom People's Congress, Dallas Alahaperuma, today.
We don't have any knowledge about it. Today is the 4th and now it is 11:05 and we have not been informed regarding that until now.
When's the election?
Anura Kumar Disanayake, leader of the National People's Power, addressed the Northern Provincial Conference of the Ceylon Teachers Service Association in Jaffna today. During his speech, he revealed ongoing discussions with political parties and leaders from the north aimed at forming a government.
We did not come to seek your vote for the presidential election. Comments about 13 plus and upholding federal principles is a deal. This isn't about striking deals. What does our country truly require? National unity. Our predecessors sowed seeds of racism and we, the present generation, are reaping its bitter harvest. Do we still wish to partake in such divisive politics? It's time for a new era of politics focused on national cohesion. We must acknowledge the right of Tamil speakers to engage with the state in their language. The recent turmoil in Vedikanari has deep roots in history and archaeology. Should we continue to squabble over its religious affiliation? This heritage belongs to all of us. How do we safeguard our historical treasures? We must protect, preserve and meticulously document our history for generations to come. The Northern Province has been your ancestral home for generations. Your forebears tilled the soil. Shouldn't you have rightful claim to those lands? Asserting ownership over your ancestral lands is imperative for national unity. The people in the north are grappling with myriad issues. We call upon political leaders who believe in providing answers and solutions to come together and form a government. Let's transcend party liners and establish governments unitedly for the betterment of our nation.
News First with the people.
Teardrops and profit.
During a parliamentary committee session, it came to light that potatoes, onions and green beans, which were unloaded at the port, were subsequently sold to the general public at an exorbitant rate. Now, this revelation has raised concerns about transparency and the fairness in the supply chain.
Meanwhile, the rice market faces an unusual situation, particularly concerning Kiri Samba rice. Now, strikingly, there is a scarcity of Kiri Samba rice available in the market.
Well, to address this issue, a proposed solution involves temporarily reducing import taxes and allowing a specific quantity of rice equivalent to Kiri Samba rice to be released from the port.
But what exactly are these transactions that exploit consumers?
Teardrops and profit. In an effort to ensure fairness and protect consumers, a price control measure was implemented for local rice on the 2nd of May 2022. According to this regulation, the maximum allowable prices per kilogram for various rice varieties was set as follows. Local white and red Nadu, not to exceed 220 rupees. White and red Samba, capped at 230 rupees. Local kiri samba limited to 260 rupees. However, the situation on the ground reveals a different story. Despite the controlled price, kiri samba, a rice variety, is highly sought after during the festive season, remains conspicuously absent from the market at the stipulated price of 260 rupees. Behind closed doors, some vendors continue to sell it at inflated rates, circumventing the official pricing guidelines. Newsfirst also visited several other areas.
තිල්ලර විකුණන්නේ 360යි අපිට වෙටෙන සාමාන්‍ය 340යි හැබැයි පාලන මිල දාලා තිනවා 260යි කියලා අපිට කරගන්න බැරුව තියෙන්නේ මොනවද කරන්න කියලා තේරෙන්නේ නැතුව ඉන්නවා
ඒ ගාන්ට පාරිභෝගිකයන්ට විකිණීමක් කරන්න බැරි හින්දා විකිණීම නවත්තලා තියෙනවා
ඊරිසම්බා අඩු මිලට දෙන්න පුළුවන් පොඩි මෝල් කට්ටියක 340ට 260ට දෙන්න බෑ අනිත් කට්ටිය ලොකු දාලා ටික වැඩි ගන්නවා තමයි කරන්නේ
දුප්පයි මේසගේ වී ටික තුට්ටු දෙකට ගන්නවා කීරිසම්බා නැහැ
ඊරිසම්බා අපි ගේන්නේ නැහැ විකුණන්න මිලක් නැහැ
ප්‍රසිද්ධ කම්පැනි ඔක්කොම කට්ටිය 259ක් බිල් කරලා බිලට 340ක් වෙන ඉතිරි ගාන ඇම්බිලොප් එකේ කොනේ ලියලා එවනවා. ඒතර 340ට ගෙනාවොත් 350ට දෙන්න ඕන.
What do the large-scale rice mill owners have to say?
Since there is a shortage of kiri samba paddy, the mills may have purchased them at high prices. That is why the price of kiri samba is also high. Paddy is available, but the rice is not reaching the public. I propose the relevant minister intervene and solve this. However, the small and medium rice producers say something different. We have a boiler capable of handling 15,000 kilos, but funds for procurement are lacking. Additionally, though there is potential to store approximately 1 million kilos in our warehouse, not a single bundle has been stored. Kiri samba is absent in the mills, yet certain entities possess rice stocks purchased over 3 seasons preceding the advent of large-scale mills. Adding to the complexity, a solitary monopoly has acquired kiri samba alongside 3 mills. They were given massive loans, resulting in the creation of a rice mafia.
This is the Consumer Affairs Authority proposal to address the issue.
People are strongly urged to minimize their purchases as much as possible following the implementation of such pricing in order to foster market stability, as increased demand tends to drive prices up. It is equally crucial that we move away from purchasing the product.
Amidst the rice supply conundrum, an alternative solution emerged, reducing the import levy on rice from 65 rupees to a mere 2 rupees. Initially, this measure provided some respite, albeit temporarily. However, the relief period has reached its conclusion today. Interestingly, the recent influx of a rice variety akin to samba triggered the activation of the tax reduction. Yet, views now circulate hinting at an undisclosed deal lurking behind this tax adjustment.
The gazette is valid from the 27th to the 3rd of April. During this period, there are Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays. If we consider the 4 days of this operation accurately, 10 containers have been released from the port, resulting in a tax revenue loss to the country of 16 million rupees for 250,000 kilograms of rice. Presently, there is a possibility of release stocks today and tomorrow. The Minister of Trade mentions that there is some rice and they plan to relocate it to create space in the port. The dilemma lies in the fact that the price of rice will not decrease. This loss of tax revenue to the country will persist. So why proceed with this action when you have already addressed the issue with rice? This is what happened with regard to garlic imports and rice imports, resulting in scams.
Will there be a thorough investigation into these allegations? Considering the reduction in taxes, can it be ensured that rice imported to the country will be accessible to the public at an affordable price? What relief can the people expect from ongoing price control measures if the primary objective remains unattainable?
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa says that the interest rates paid on savings of senior citizens have come down from 15% to 8%.
මේ මොහොත වන විට ජීවිතයේ සැදෑ සමයේ
The senior citizens of the country who are currently spending their golden years of life received an interest rate of 15% on their savings. This has now fallen to 6% to 7%. It is the interest income that they received for the savings they made through their hard-earned money. These senior citizens fulfill most of their needs using the money they earn from these interests. This reduction from 15% to 8% is cutting their income in half. As a country of people with gratitude, all political parties should focus on the plight of the senior citizens in the country who are severely affected by this situation. I brought this matter to the attention of the MPs at a parliament session recently. These senior citizens are unable to fulfill their needs with an income earned from a mere 5% to 7% interest. I propose that a special program should be implemented to provide these senior citizens with a 15% interest rate on their savings.
The opposition leader expressed these views at the 142nd phase of the Sakula program, where a smart classroom worth 1 million rupees was donated to Valley Oya Muhudu Badapattu Ahatugaswava Vidyalaya in Mulathiu.
The United States has commended Sri Lanka's progress on its IMF program, and at the same time the IMF managing director said that the world economy is doing better than expected.
The Newsfirst Finance Report.
US commends Sri Lanka's progress on IMF program.
Sri Lanka's State Minister of Finance, Srihan Semasinghe, called on US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, in Colombo ahead of his trip to Washington for the IMF spring meeting. The ambassador posted on X, Sri Lanka has made great progress on the IMF program, and the United States of America hopes Sri Lanka can take the final steps necessary to unlock the next round of funding that will promote economic stability, foster growth, and improve the welfare of the people of Sri Lanka. State Minister Srihan Semasinghe posted on X that the discussion focused on Sri Lanka's economic recovery and importance of strengthening the way forward with the IMF program and collaboration with other stakeholders and partners. He said they further discussed the progress of the debt restructuring process, and the ambassador commended the government's unwavering dedication on reforms implementation to foster stability in Sri Lanka and reassured America's steadfast support to ensure economic stability, growth and debt sustainability in Sri Lanka.
IMF Managing Director says the world economy is doing better than expected.
The world economy today is doing better than we feared even a year ago. Growth is holding, inflation is going down, and the expectation that we will move through this phase of high inflation without recession, the so-called soft landing, is up. That also translates with better conditions for low-income countries. What they see is also their growth prospects improving. They see inflation going down, and some of the low-income countries see prospects of tapping into markets. But this, unfortunately, is not the whole story. Both globally, we are not yet done in the fight against inflation, and major central banks are not rushing to cut interest rates. In low-income countries, the hit of this shock after shock, pandemic, the war in Ukraine, high prices, is felt most profoundly. In fact, our analysis shows that scarring from the shocks in advanced economies and emerging market economies is less than we feared, but scarring in low-income countries is higher than we expected.
The president of the World Bank Group spoke on IDA resources for countries.
There are 75 countries who currently receive IDA resources, and they need the opportunities that we are talking about because they have all the problems. But policies and effort done the right way will be required for them to surmount their debt, the investment and trade paucity that we are seeing currently, some of the geopolitics and the fragmentation of the system, which goes against their chance for their time in the sun to come true. Right? So I think that's kind of the first part. 36 countries have graduated from IDA over the years. Japan, Korea, India. So there are great examples of countries doing well out of this and now becoming outstanding donors as well.
The News First Finance Report.
Sri Lanka's Finance Secretary disclosed that despite improved macroeconomic indicators, people's lives remain impacted.
In spite of the improved macroeconomic indicators, the lives and livelihood of people have not fully normalized. Whilst inflation has stabilized, wages are yet to catch up with the rapid increase in prices experienced during the worst of the crisis. For incomes to grow, the economy has to grow. The more stable macroeconomic conditions set the foundation for a recovery in economic growth, and the early signs have been positive as the fourth quarter of 2023 recorded a GDP growth of 4.5%. We should also aspire to achieve a qualitative improvement in the type of economic growth. We must aim for economic growth driven by non-debt creating inflows such as exports of goods, including agricultural exports, export of services, and foreign direct investment. Sustainable economic growth can only be achieved through the continuous enhancement in productivity, which in turn translates into growth in real wages.
The Climate Smart Governance Dashboard was launched in Colombo today. The CSG Dashboard is a dynamic online platform which provides critical data and analytics on climate vulnerabilities, governance capacities, and potential climate smart interventions to strengthen the national adaptation plan and achieving the progress of sustainable development goals.
Sri Lankan Minister of Water Supply and Estate Infrastructure, Jeevan Thondaman, said that the decision to forcefully cremate COVID-19 victims was not grounded in scientific evidence. He announced plans to submit a cabinet paper jointly with Minister Ali Sabri, formally apologizing for the harm caused by the policy.
நம்ம இஸ்லாமிய சமூகத்தை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் அது ஃபோர்ஸ்ட் கிரிமேஷன் எல்லாருக்குமே தெரியும் என்ன நடந்துச்சு. இந்த ஃபோர்ஸ்ட் கிரிமேஷனை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் அதுக்கு ஒரு சிந்தனை இருந்துச்சு. என்னன்னா கிரவுண்ட் வாட்டர் பாதிக்கப்படுது கோவிட்னால, இந்த பெரியல்னால, புதைக்கிறதுனால கிரவுண்ட் வாட்டர் பாதிக்கப்படுது. நீர்வளங்கள் அமைச்சின் ஊடாக நாங்கள் ஒரு ரிப்போர்ட் ஒன்று தயாரிச்சிருக்கோம், ஒரு ஆவணம். முந்தா நேற்று தான் தயாரிக்கப்பட்டுச்சு. கிட்டத்தட்ட 6 மாதம் காலம் போச்சு. இந்த ஆவணத்தை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் ஒரு விஷயம் தெளிவாகவே வெளியே வந்திருக்கு. கொரோனாவால் பாதிக்கப்பட்ட இஸ்லாமிய சமூகத்தினரோட புதைப்புதல்னால எந்த விதமான பரவலும் இல்லைன்னு வந்திருக்கு. ஆகவே இந்த தருணத்தில் அரசாங்க சார்பாக நான் உங்கள் எல்லார்கிட்டையும் மன்னிப்பு கேட்டுக்கிறேன். அதே நேரத்தில் அரசாங்கத்தில் அமைச்சரவையில் நாங்கள் ஒரு அமைச்சரவை ஆவணத்தையும் தயாரித்து சமர்ப்பிக்க போகிறோம். அந்த ஆவணத்தில் அரசாங்கம் உத்தியோகபூர்வமாக இஸ்லாமிய சமூகத்துக்கு மன்னிப்பு கேட்கணும்னு அந்த அமைச்சரவை பத்திரத்தில் வரும். கட்டாயம் எங்களால் முடிஞ்ச அளவு இந்த நாட்டை எப்படி ஒன்றிணைந்து கொண்டு போக முடியுமோ எல்லாரும் ஒன்றிணைந்து கொண்டு போகும். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
The first application under the Online Safety Act was made to the Colombo Chief Magistrate Court today.
The petitioner, Janaka Ratnayaka, former chairman of the Public Utilities Commission, alleged that one or more of the several respondents named in the petition had circulated or is attempting to circulate private information. Further, the petitioner alleged that he was a targeted individual and that one or more of the several respondents named in the petition were intentionally harassing the petitioner by communicating false statements. The Chief Magistrate of Colombo, Prasanna Alves, granted a conditional order in favour of the petitioner and directed that the order be communicated to the respondents by electronic means. The case is due to be called on the 18th of April 2024, on which day one or more of the several respondents named in the petition are required to show cause under the Act.
The weekly silent protest at the Liberty Circle took place today as well, despite a heavy downpour.
Civil activists gathered at the Liberty Circle in Colombo to express their dismay over the lack of attention to pressing issues in the country. They engaged in their dissent despite a heavy downpour in the area. Activists held placards to express their dismay to the current state of affairs.
The Alumni Club of the Harvard University organized an event in Colombo today addressing key global issues.
Big Bold Brave 2024, organized by the Alumni Club of the Harvard University, Sri Lanka, got underway in Colombo today. The event addressed strategies to tackle key issues such as climate change in the future.
Sri Lanka is blessed with a lot of competitive advantage. In particular, I think from my own mind, Sri Lankans are one of the most skillful people in the world. Now, competitive advantage is based on competency. From my own books, there are at least 5 areas when you think about competency. But the problem in this all too is how do you cascade to the people that work and how do you align that? That's the issue. Last 55 years, the world has produced more than 81 study tools from balance of card to BCD matrix to all that. But the problem of even, I think, most of the educated public is that they don't seem to use the study tools. That's a huge problem.
Over 150 members representing alumni clubs of the Harvard University of 15 countries, including Australia and Dubai, arrived in Sri Lanka for the event.
The National People Powers Bank and Financial Association's Jaffna District Conference was held today.
Party leader Anrukumar Disanayake and TNA MP President's Council M.A. Sumandiran also attended the event.
A survey has suggested that a majority in Southeast Asia would choose China over US. At the same time, Israel is accused of AI-assisted genocide in Gaza. Newsfirst, Ditmini and Juad brings us more details on the world today.
Well, on your latest update on the world today now, the Israeli military accused of deploying untested artificial intelligence systems in Gaza war that have led to mass casualties among civilians. Now, the UN is pausing nighttime aid operations in Gaza as calls for Israel to be held accountable for the deadly attack on a food aid convoy continue.
Now, celebrity chef Jose Andres said that an Israeli attack that killed 7 of his food aid workers in Gaza had targeted them systematically car by car. Andres said that the World Central Kitchen charity group he founded had clear communication with the Israeli military, which he said knew his aid workers' movements.
The aid workers were killed when their convoy was hit shortly after they oversaw the unloading of 100 tons of food brought to Gaza by sea.
He had flown 7,800 miles from home to help feed the hungry. Today he began his final journey home, pushed out of a morgue. With him as he crossed the Egyptian border today, his friends in life and death.
And now shifting your focus to yet another earthquake that hit Japan. Now, a magnitude 6.0 earthquake struck off northeastern Japan's Fukushima region, but no tsunami warning was issued. There were no immediate reports of damage or injuries after the earthquake, whose epicenter had a depth of 40 kilometers and which was also felt in Tokyo.
Now, George, if you take a look at the update from Taiwan's earthquake, which was reported yesterday, the number of people injured in the 7.2 magnitude earthquake in eastern Taiwan climbed past 1,000, though the death toll remains steady at 9, with dozens of workers on their way to a hotel in a national park, mostly now found safe. The earthquake, the strongest in 25 years, hit yesterday morning, just as people were ready to go to work and school, centered on the largely rural and sparsely populated eastern county of Huelin. And in Europe, NATO foreign ministers celebrated the 75th anniversary of the alliance with flags, cake and marching bands, while its Secretary General reminded the United States that it needed its allies more than ever as the Ukraine war enters its third year. The alliance's 32 member states agreed to start planning for a greater role in coordinating military aid to Ukraine to help in battle Russia in Europe's biggest conflict since World War II, and show its unity as Ukraine awaits a package worth some $60 billion that remains stalled in the US Congress.
Yes, and on this second day of a meeting in Brussels, the ministers marked the signing in Washington on April 4th, 1949 of the North Atlantic Treaty that established the transatlantic political and military alliance. With that, we wrap up your latest from the world today. For the Newsfirst team, I've been Joad Abdin.
And I'm Dithmini De Silva.
It's back to the studios.
Thank you, Joad and Dithmini. And with that, we wrap up Primetime News on TV1 for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.